beer kit review time once again, and I've got another exciting beer kit, and it's another one from the Muntons range. They've teamed up with Tiny Rebel Brewing Company to brew up their, and it even gives you a little pronunciation, it's their Cwtch, which means a nice cuddle, and it was Camera Champion Beer of Britain 2015. I'll just run through what you get in the kit. I'm going to do a kind of brief rundown of the brew in the kit, but it's pretty much the same as a lot of the kind of the 2-can extract kits. Very simple, clear, concise instructions that tell you when to add the ingredients, and it's a case of, you know, warming your cans, adding the cans of malt extract to the fermenter, adding any hops that's required, then the yeast, fermenting out, and if there's extra hops, adding them. And you know, there's not a lot to it to get the end result, but I'll just run through what you get. You get 4 packets of hops. They're 30-gram packets of Columbus, there's 2 of them, and there's 2 packets of 28 grams of Citra pellets, and you add 1 of each, Citra and the Columbus, at one stage when you first put the extract in, and then another 2 bags, like 1 of each, 4 days later. There's 2 sachets of 6-gram American ale yeast to go in to ferment it out, and then your 2 cans of malt extract, which are going to need warming up to get them out. And it's as simple as that. I have to say, I never got to try the beer, the commercial version. I would like to get my hands on a bottle so that I can do a side by side of the two. Yeah, and it sounds pretty great. There's a little tasting note on here somewhere. Where did I see it? That says that it is toffee and floral with tropical fruit, citrus and tropical fruit backed up with caramel and roasted malt flavours and a balanced moderate bitterness, and a 4.6%, a nice kind of session beer. And the instructions are fantastic. I think that Tiny Rebel obviously closely worked with Muntons to produce what is a fantastic looking beer kit, and I think we're in an exciting time that we can get like commercial brewery beers being made into beer kits. When I first started making beer kits, there was just kind of the standard ones available. And now we're seeing a lot more commercial beers being made into beer kits, which is a fantastic thing. I know some people out there will probably argue that, and it even states in the instructions that, it may not taste. Where does it say? I read it somewhere. Please note, Tiny Rebel tasting notes for guidance only. The beer may vary due to regional and brewing differences, and that's all down to, if you follow the instructions perfectly. It could be your water might be slightly different. There's certain aspects that are going to make it, maybe not taste exactly like the commercial version. I think that's the key. I think some people do get a little bit disappointed that it's never spot on. I know there's been calls for an all-grain version of this kit to be produced. That would be exciting as well if that gets done. But for me, these are the sort of the gateway brewing kits that get people into brewing often. And I know a lot of people jump straight into all-grain now, but these are what I started on, and I still love brewing them now for speed and time. I mean, other than filming it, I would say if I wasn't filming it, I'd probably get the whole kit knocked together in under half an hour now. It's kind of like once your fermenter's sterilised, it's just a case of adding the ingredients. It's no worse than kind of a baker cake box set kind of thing. Everything's there that you need. You just add your water and away you go. So I still think these are a great thing to get people into the hobby and get them trying different beers. I mean, I just think it's so exciting that we've got to this stage where we've got something like this. So I'll stop waffling and I'll get the cans in soak in some warm water, and then we'll get everything added on. Got our cans of malt extract sitting in some hot water in the sink just to soften the insides. And the first, or after that stage, next bit is to add 1 packet of each of the hot pellets into the fermenter, which has been sterilised and thoroughly cleaned. Then we're going to add 2 litres of boiled water, and then it's going to stand for 5 minutes. Just going to get our whisk and give that a little bit of a mix up. Fit the lid on, keep it clean, give that 5 minutes, and then we'll come back and start adding the malt extract. Right, so the hops have been kind of stewing in the warm water with the lid loosely off. We're now just adding the malt extract in the tins. I've just done one, just pouring another one in. At this point they're quite okay to hold. Next we're going to fill them up with some more boiling water from the kettle. Give them a good stir to loosen up any extra malt that's in there, but then you're going to need a tea towel to hold the tin because it's going to be quite hot. So we'll cut back once we've added that, and then we're nearly there. So we're pretty much there. All the malt extract is gone from the can, it's nice and clean. I'll give it a good whisk, kind of whisking it up. This is a good point to get a whisk in there actually and give it a good, get all the malt extract to make sure that it's mixed in with the hot water that's in there, because otherwise if it sits in there in a clump it might not ferment out correctly, or it just won't be as good. So just make sure you get it and give it a good stir, a spoon or a whisk. I find a whisk helps to break it up a little bit better. Also it aerates it somewhat, which is what you've got to do next. The instructions say to use a long spoon and give it a good stir for 2 minutes, which is good. You can use a whisk as well, I find works well. Or what I'm going to do is, we're topping it up to just 20 litres, I'll put the fermenter on the floor, got a big jug that we're going to fill with water, and then as we keep filling it, pour it from a height, and that will agitate the wort and give us a little bit of aeration as well at the same time. Then after that, it's pretty much just a case of taking a gravity sample. So we can do a gravity reading, and what's quite cool in the instructions, it's got a little section there where you can fill it in as you progress. And then we'll add the yeast and then ferment it out, and then the next time I won't cut back to just adding the extra bags of hops in 4 or 5 days time. We'll cut back to a taste test, and if I can I'm going to try and get hold of a commercial version and do a side by side and and compare the two and see what it's like. So until then, it's the final part of the Cwtch beer kit review from Muntons and Tiny Rebel Brewing, and I have to say it's been a long time coming, this review, and I've had pretty much, since it's been bottled, a bottle or maybe 2 every night since it's been ready to drink. I'll tell you more in a minute once I've cracked it open, but it was it brewed out perfectly fine. I didn't film the bottling stage. You'll see the kind of at the start of this video I showed a brief introduction to the kit, what you get inside it, how you make it up, and then we've come straight to kind of the review, if you like, purely because adding the extra hops and the kind of bottling, everyone's seen that and knows what to do, and there's plenty of videos out there. So now it's time to review the beer. But I have to admit, it's probably my favourite beer kit to date now. And when I first started doing beer kits, it was the Woodford's Wherry, and that was the kind of the kit that everyone brews when they first start out. There have been other kits, since then that have kind of held the mantle of being quite a good beer kit, but for me, this now holds that mantle. It is the champion beer kit. And oddly enough, everyone's tasted different. I've seen some reviews out there to suggest this just isn't quite that good. But I have to disagree. I don't have the commercial version to compare it to. I did send a message off to Tiny Rebel to see if they wanted to send me a bottle to do a side-by-side, but I haven't been able to even find it in beer shops near me to get a bottle to do a side-by-side. But from what I've been told, and a couple of people that have seen it, I mean, this camera, it looks really dark. There's not a lot of good light coming in through the window. It's not quite as red as what the commercial version is, but I'm really not fussed about colour, it's all about taste. But again, I don't have nothing to compare it to, though I have had some people try this last night that said they thought that it was pretty good, and I think they were quite surprised that it was an actual beer kit from 2 cans rather than an all grain kit. But I have to say, it's got none of that kit twang. Some beer kits have I don't know what it is, it's something to do with the extract in the tins, that kind of how they preserve them, that it remains and you can taste it. Could be purely because of the amount of hops in this kit. You get I think it's 2 30-gram packs, or is it 30 gram of each, Citra and Columbus. You add some at the start, some as a dry hop, and they just blow the beer away. It is fantastic. Its carbonation is, I've got it sort of just right, but I was kind of, when I couldn't get the last amount out of the fermenter when I was bottling, I was drinking it from the fermenter. It's sat in the fermenter for 3 weeks, longer than it actually should. I think the recipe said about 2 weeks. I got sidetracked, it got left, but it fermented out properly like it should. It's the right ABV, and the taste. It's fantastic. I mean, I love Columbus as a hop. It is one of my absolute favourites. I can't describe what it brings to the table. A lot of people say it's that kind of, that dankness. It's just, there is loads of citrus in there. I get more of the Columbus personally, but I can see that citrus bites coming through. It's just right. The bitterness is fantastic, and the fact that it's a beer kit and it took me kind of, you know, less than 30 minutes to make up, and you have 36 pints of this, it is fantastic. I would not hesitate to, and I have one bottle left after this, to just go and buy another one and do it all again, because it is that good. I think some of the bad reviews out there have been quite unfounded. I don't know why. I think if you liked hoppy beers and you're just getting into just getting into brewing, this is the beer kit you want to get. There have been others out there that kind of, you know, people say that's the one to go to, but now this holds the mantle. I think, you know, if you like a hoppy beer, you know, it's not. I'm not saying this is super hoppy, but this is going to please most. It's going to please the people that like that hoppiness, and some that are just starting out. It is fantastic. I just can't stress enough how good it is. So good, in fact, that, you know, this week where it's been really hot, I was so desperate to have a couple of bottles of this that I didn't have any in the fridge. I was putting ice cubes in the beer, which is just wrong. But just to make the beer cold, it is fantastic. Like I say, I still need to get a commercial version just to kind of do a side by side. But as a home brew, for something that you can knock up in your kitchen, you know, and all you're really else going to need is a bucket and the bottles to put it in afterwards, or a keg or something like that. The only thing, if I was to kind of not give it a mark down, the kit itself, you get everything you need, but there are some kits out there on the market that include, if this is being really kind of fussy, if you like, a little kind of muslin type mesh bag that when you're siphoning everything out, it leaves all the crud and that just in that kind of little bag. And the hot pellets were pretty good, most of them settled, but oddly enough, you know, with pellets, most of the time I've ever used them, they've settled right out. I didn't ferment this under fermentation control or anything like that, just because I wanted to brew it exactly as most people probably will that don't have that equipment. Some of the pellets seem to kind of disperse but then float up to the top, so even when you was kind of siphoning it out with the auto siphon, some of it was coming through. So before I could see that was going to happen, I got what I had from some previous kits, which is like this little tiny mesh bag to put at the end of the auto siphon just to catch it. I mean, you can go and pick up something like a muslin bag on that, but maybe, you know, a revisement of the kit would be to include one of them in. You do get a beer mat in there, which is pretty cool, but maybe just that little muslin bag if you want to be really fussy. But to be fair, you can get around it. You could use a sieve or something like that. That's just the only thing I can mark it down on, if I'm going to mark it down. But for me, this is a 10 out of 10 in terms of beer kit. It should be the one, if people want to brew even if they want to brew their first beer. I mean, it could possibly be hoppy or too hoppy for some people, but for most, I think, starting out, I think they'd be hard pressed to know that this come from an actual beer kit, a toucan kit. A lot of them, like I say, you can get this odd kind of twang. I don't know where it comes from, but this is just not there. It's just, I don't know, I can't praise it enough. It is that good. And I was drinking this, I bottled it, it's been in the bottle probably only 2.5 weeks now. Carbonation is spot on. I used, I think, half a teaspoon per 500ml bottle, which is giving it kind of just that right amount for me. Some people like their beer a little bit more fizzy, but I was drinking it way before it was ready. I remember I cracking, like I say, from the ferment it was fantastic. So almost like 3 days later, I cracked a bottle and there was a slight hiss, and I was like, that's good enough. And since then it's been downhill. It's been 1 bottle, maybe 2 bottles a night. Some it's been 3, and it's gone. There is just literally only 1 bottle left. I have to put it down to the fact as well that I don't have a lot of homebrew around me at the moment. But when I cracked into this, wow, it's better. Maybe some of my all grain beers are not that good, but this is better than some of the all grain beers that I've brewed recently. You know, that's quite telling. It's so, I think the fact that it's so easy to brew, you know, it's not going to take a lot of time for you to knock this kit up and get a great tasting beer. So I suggest if you want an easy making, easy drinking beer, then the Cwtch is a fantastic beer to get. And I feel so bad, I need to buy another one. A lot of people I told I had this, they were like, oh, you know, I'd love to get a bottle. I haven't got any to give out. I've drunk it literally all to myself. That is quite greedy, but it's that good. So I will get another one on the go, and anyone that I've told I've brewed, you will get one. So Cwtch is fantastic as a beer kit. I believe they're looking into making an all-grain version. I've heard rumblings on the internet. But in all honesty, that would be a good side-by-side. But this is fantastic. Cheers.